And founder of Clippers and Cops. We actually started doing this 4 years ago, and the reason for it is to try to create citizen and police empathy by having open conversations. Basically, this is you can ask or say whatever you want. We just ask that you be respectful of everybody, and the whole goal is this to try to create empathy. Like, a lot of times people have questions for law enforcement, and they don't have an opportunity or an outlet to be able to ask certain questions. As a police officer, I'm a retired detective. A lot of times people think all of us are out to get people and different things like that, and that's the reason that we started the program. Also, if you can, please follow us on all social media platforms, clippersandcops.org. A lot of the old videos are on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. What's going to happen is we're going to throw some questions out there. Usually it starts slow. We throw questions out and everybody's kind of being shy. And then after about 10 to 15 minutes, everybody starts getting real. So that's how this is going to go. I don't do this by myself. My other Clippers and Cops mates, if you can stand up and introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are.
All right, I'll just go. Mike Carter, Lieutenant with the Atlanta Police Department and the SWAT member.
OK Curry, Mr. World Traveler, a retired detective and retired military. Glad to be a part.
Michael Seiden, aka White Mike, WSP TV, and I was lost one day and they took me in.
Officer Dante Booker, the community-oriented policing section of COPS. Glad to have you guys here.
Detective Andre Lowe, Atlanta Police Homicide Unit.
And we're missing Reese, who's a radio person. He's usually our host. And then we're missing Tyrone Finney as well. But without further, we're already behind schedule. Do anybody have any opening questions or comments that they want to start before we even get started? Go ahead.
Can you mute this TV?
Mute the TV if you can. They out there watching Power stuff. Tasha and Jake. Who got a question? Who got a question? Oh, okay. I'll tell you next to that. Y'all ready? All right. So the first question.
All right, so we always go through a number of different questions and really depending on what's going on out in whether it's in our community or just across the country. One thing that we've talked about the last couple of days is that recently released video of the up there in Ohio, Grand Rapids, Michigan, I'm sorry, where the officer shot the individual, the young man in the back of the head. So, and you know, when that usually happens, everybody in the community always wants the video, the body camera, to be released immediately. So I guess the question to ask is, how do we remain transparent and get that video out, but at the same time protect the integrity of the investigation and the rights of the officer? Because I mean, the officer does have rights. So I mean, we're just gonna throw it out there. How do you feel about that? As far as that video coming out immediately, and that's for anybody out there. And how y'all feel about that? I mean, anybody?
Y'all seen the video?
No, I ain't seen the video. I just found out about that today with one of my clients.
Yeah,
Like, what really happened?
So it was a traffic stop, and the guy was a refugee. And during that traffic stop, the officer attempted to take him into custody. And upon trying to take him into custody, when he tried to tase the guy started basically resisting and fighting for the taser. They were literally struggling over the taser for a long period of time. And after which, the officer basically, while they're on the ground still fighting, the officer pulled his weapon and basically shot the guy in the back of the head.
Yeah.
All
do that. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, just because, so if they don't show the video right away, does that mean that the police is covering up or trying to cover up the incident, or?
How do y'all feel about that?
I mean, because, you know, the way social media, and somebody just happened to be out there filming it, even though it's still on the officer's body cam, but somebody happened to film it. So what we're faced with all the time, especially in these forums, is before the body cam or all of the video is put out, there are snippets of people's cell phone video that's put out. And so, I'll be honest, a lot of times, yeah, it gives a false sense of what really happened, and definitely makes, you know, law enforcement look bad sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes, yeah.
Is it a requirement when something like that happens before y'all put that body cam video out, or do y'all not have to? How does that work?
Go ahead.
Well, a lot of times, being so I work for officer involved shooting as well. A lot of times what we do is, like, even though those videos are out, we're still looking at the body cam, like gathering all the facts of what happened.
Right.
At that time, once we gather those facts, then you, whatever you think we should release to the media, then we'll release it at that time.
But then, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, working investigations, usually you don't release everything because you still working.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
I keep that integrity.
right, a lot of times it's just like when you watch World Star, right? And it say such and such got jammed up, and it be like, dang, why the police messing with him? Because we can't release everything it's still other layers to that case.
Right.
We can only give you so much, and when you watch the news, even as a cop, you sit back like, that's not the full story. I know I'm not giving you the full story. It's just like, for example, with this case, if I spit in somebody's face right now, what's gonna be the reaction? You're gonna fire on me. If they start recording when you punching me, who's at fault?
It's gonna look like the person who punched you.
There you go. So with some of these incidents, right or wrong, not saying which one is which.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're getting the tail end of it. And then once you release more of the video or more of the stuff, they do further investigation and other stuff comes out, then it's like, oh yeah, I would have probably slapped him too, you know what I'm saying? And so a lot of that goes into play. And so it's one of those things where you're trying to keep the public from overreacting before all the facts are out.
So I got a question though, is there talk in the department, because I think most of the time when you see the snippets on social media, it's going to be unfavorable towards the officer, whether it's justified or not, right?
Right.
So is there any talk, because obviously technology is always ahead of legislation, policies, procedures, so is there talk at the top of law enforcement agencies about saying, hey, here's the deal, we know we're in this world now, there's 24/7, 365, video, live stream, all that stuff, so we need to look at our policies and maybe revise being able to release things a little bit earlier, or making it easier for the public to access body camera video, things like that, with obviously not jeopardizing the case, but to have that transparency.
I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily say if it's protocol that's talked about. I mean, just like, you go anywhere, anybody can be recorded. Like,
Right.
you walk down the street and somebody gets recorded. But I mean, that doesn't negate the fact that, I mean, you still got to pull those facts in until you know what all the facts are before you put it out there.
And I would say just from the media perspective too, like we get criticized a lot, like the police departments will get upset with us. But you have to understand too, in this world where like it's instant gratification, we get so many videos, I mean, you can't just ignore all of a sudden you see a shooting, an officer involved shooting, you can't just ignore that when everybody's talking about it. So I think you still have to be credible at the same time, but also I think, you know, a big thing is we get the video from people at the scene too, that's the other thing. So like people say, why are you guys showing these videos? Well, you guys are the ones sending it to us.
But when you say release, what is your time frame that you would recommend? Like how long would you
Talking
take
about with
from the
police?
agent?
I don't know the answer. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, obviously people want it now, but I understand that jeopardizes your investigation.
Yes.
You can't do that because you're still investigating on the.
So what would be an adequate time? Like, just as people, what would be an adequate time on an incident like that? Like this incident in Grand Rapids, I'm curious to know, when did this happen? And how, because now it's snowballing. Because now the major news outlets are picking it up, and now people are picking it up like, oh hell no. And then that's when it leads to 2020, even with George Floyd or Rashad Aubrey. A lot of that stuff we didn't get that video for months. And as we gathered the facts, then it became apparent that something was wrong.
I think it's a double-edged sword.
So that's 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half.
10 days ago.
Because also, if an officer is justified, you could literally tear that person apart. I mean, their whole career, their life, public image, all that can be done. They're finished.
Right.
And they could have been completely justified. So it's like a double-edged sword. I don't know.
And then it has to travel through so many people, like GBI, everybody has to investigate, so it's more than just our agency, district attorney, so many hands that's on it have to review it, so I don't think releasing it right then is the best thing. Especially if you have, and you know, the news, y'all develop at 12 o'clock, at 2 o'clock, and breaking news.
But then also you have to take and play the social media part. Like you said, anybody, like Dre said, anybody can be out filming. So that filming can hit before the news, before the police, before anything. Based on the social media, it can be based off this phone. This can spread to millions of people in a matter of seconds. And it's really, and the department is behind the power curve because it depends on what part of that snippet they get or what part they come in on. Oh man, he just shot the guy in the back of the head, but they didn't see him fighting with the guy. They didn't see none of that piece before they saw that. Only piece they saw was the fighting with the police officer before he shot him in the back of the head. And so now that's what the only thing that they saw. But they didn't see the before action, they didn't see the taser, they didn't see him fighting. But that's what they got in their mindset at that time frame, which leaves saying, oh, let's go tear up something. And so that's how the ball could get rolling. And then the police is already behind the power curve, which is nothing like other situations which happened, like, you know, in Brunswick, where basically they tried to cover up something, which it shouldn't have been covered up, but it got put out there. Totally different two situations, but based on the perception of how it was presented, it can start a snowball effect that you really have no control over.
Well,
And that's the problem. Go ahead.
when y'all first said that, you asked about the video and you said, has anybody seen the video? And then you talked about it and you was like, well, the cop shot the dude in the back of the head. Well, instantly my thought was, dang, he shot him in the back of the head. Like, you didn't talk about the struggle. It wasn't like he just purposely just shot him in the back of the head. Like,
But that's how it comes out.
That's how it comes out.
We looked in the car before we walked in. We were looking online, and that's what the headline says. Officer shoots refugee in the back of the head. That's what it says.
so, but I'm saying when you hear that title, it already off top, you already have a perception of what that sounds like before, you know, and it's in the back of the head as if he purposely shot him, not a struggle where he was, you know, and it just happened with the angle of where they were on the ground. So, you know, that plays a part too.
So
how it comes out.
I guess to people here, what do you think the police department should do? Like, how should we, I mean, give me something I can take back and share. Like, how can we, again, the question, remain transparent or try to be transparent, but at the same time, maintain the integrity of the investigation? Should they come out with some type of general statement or something?
They don't say anything. It'd be like 2 weeks, a month. Nobody said anything. They don't say something.
Like, I mean, you have like citizen police academies, not everyone can do it, but I think the more you inform people, because I even know before I started coming here, there's things I assumed about policing you don't understand unless you're around people in law enforcement. There's policies, procedures, laws. People don't understand that. No, but I'm saying it's an agreement. People always want to know, like, if there's an officer involved, why is GBI coming out?
Right.
That's an agreement with all, that's an independent investigation, right?
Right, so it's
So
not.
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
You did.
Yeah, you did.
So it's not by law, but, some states there is legislation where an independent investigation has to be done, but in Georgia, it's not. So every, agency that asks the GBI to conduct an investigation, it is voluntary. So, I will speak a little bit to video. When it comes to releasing video, we will not release the video unless the district attorney says we can release the video. Some places, the DA says release it. There's 159 counties in Georgia. Different jurisdictions, there's over 800 law enforcement agencies. Every agency is different, with different policies and procedures. Different prosecutors handle different things. So it is, you know, it's up to the prosecutor if we will release it. Now, the department owns the video. It's up to them if they want to release it or not. They may get with the prosecutor, they may not, but it's still their video. But they have their responsibility to their citizens if it will mean burning down the city or not. But it's just every single situation is different. There's no two shootings or incidents that are exactly alike, and so that's what we just need to remember that. And then there's, you know, leadership is different everywhere. So just because DeKalb County did one thing, that does not mean they're gonna do it the same way in Fulton and the same way in South Georgia. Everywhere, you know, everywhere is different. And there is no right answer to how many hours, you know, after the incident when the video should be released. There's just no answer. But I think what's important is that you have leadership that really understands all of the intricacies of the implications of if you release it or not, and you know, and who's involved, and just make sure that everybody is is at the same table, and hopefully can come to a consensus. But that's not always going to happen because different entities have responsibilities to different people, and so not everyone is going to be happy in every situation.
And the other thing to touch on that is the news media is going to show you what they want to show you. No offense, Mike. I mean, they're not going to show you a whole 8-minute long video. That's going to take little snippets out of it.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's about getting views and ratings.
I'll push back a little bit on that though. I would say, yeah. So obviously we have a time format, right? Our show is about 24 hours, so we only have X amount of time, and I agree. But we, at least in my station, we do a good job about directing people. Hey, to see the video in its full length, the raw video, not edited, go to our website. I mean, yeah, it is. There's about ratings and things like that. Obviously, we're not going to show the boring parts. We only have, you know, we have 3 to 5 seconds to get the viewer's attention. That's what research shows. We have 3 to 5 seconds to grab your attention. So if we don't show you the most compelling thing off the top, you're not going to watch.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I think that's our responsibility to explain and have context in what we're showing, not just to show use of force, just to show it. It's got to be.
How do y'all do? Do y'all ever do follow-ups, like set the officers justified? Do y'all come back and?
I mean, I can speak for myself. I follow up a lot of times, but I mean, the news cycles. I mean, listen, the viewer drives the news cycle. You guys know it, so
You got concern. I was just gonna say. Well, I'm talking about officer involved shootings and stuff. I guess my concern via or from the point of view of America would be, what is the frequency? Like, what's the reason for the frequency of so many officer involved shootings or officer shootings? You know, I mean, period. Especially in situations where the perpetrator had no weapon or used no weapon in force. You know what I mean? So like, I think that'll cut out a lot of, you know what I'm saying, what's going on if, I guess, police wouldn't be so, or portrayed to be so trigger happy. You know what I'm saying? You talking about a police that's approaching the situation, say a traffic stop car, you know what I'm saying? So now here you are, the police that we know are armed, you know what I mean, against the perpetrator or said perpetrator that we don't know is armed, and then now we're gonna approach the situation with force or high concern. Because I mean, you know, just me personally, when I get pulled over, and I just was recently pulled over, my mirror, one of my little reflector mirrors is off. So you know what I mean, that's motor vehicle concern, you know what I'm saying, equipment, whatever. But I got pulled over, you know what I mean, right here on 10th Street. And 2 officers hopped out, you know what I mean, and they hopped out with force. You know what I mean, here I am in the car, you know what I mean, SUV with my family in the car. And they hop out, guns drawn. Hey, you know what I mean? Just a lot of hype and aggression, you feel what I'm saying, as you just approaching a traffic stop. You know what I mean? So it's, I think, you know, those, I don't know, you know, that would be my concern, or that would be my question and concern.
We've been doing this for 4 years, and one of the things about doing this is explaining it from an officer point of view. And from my point of view, 16 years working Boulevard, I don't know you, and I ain't saying jump out with my gun or what have you, but I don't know if you're valedictorian, I don't know if you're a gang member, I don't know nothing about you. And when I get, if you know that I'm armed, why would you even attempt to fight or if I say, you got a warrant, because when I ran your tag, I ran your license, say you got a warrant, and I say, you gotta go to jail, and I put my hands on you. The moment that you say, oh, nah, buddy, you done already escalated. You see what I'm saying? And
But
so,
I guess,
go ahead.
even in that situation, like just like you said, you know what I mean? If I
You wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know that.
I'm just saying, if I go to Boulevard and I stop at the gas station, I don't know the people, you know what I mean, around. Is it okay for me to now to hop out with my gun, drone, and now I'm approaching everybody with high concern on, you know, I don't know if you're the valedictorian. Like, you know, what gives, I guess, an officer that POV and that authority? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like we sit right here right now, it looks like we all people. You feel what I'm saying? So now, when we throw on this uniform, we throw on this badge, we put on this utility belt, you know what I mean? Does that power the people up to think that now you are a hierarchy in this same community?
I think for some of them it does.
And
that's and we always talk about that. And to me, from here, almost 30 years, but I'm born and raised in Atlanta. I've seen it. And all of a sudden now, it goes to one of the other questions, and I don't want to throw the question out right now, but it's about a lot of the officers not knowing the community in which they work in. All right, and so I'll say it again. We mentioned it before, and I go black or white, black officer or white officer. If you're a white officer, never been around black folk, and never been in a black neighborhood or had to deal with black people, a lot of them already have perception of how black people are. I'm just keeping it real. You got black officers the same way. Grew up in the suburb. They're not from the city. They're not used to. Maybe they went to an all-white school or just been around white folks all their life and been around inner city people. So their perception, their approach to things are going to be totally different. And to me, it goes into the training in which we give our officers in the Atlanta Police Department, our cultural awareness training, which teaches them about, you know, the communities in which they are patrolling to help them get rid of that implicit bias and just all and every other type of bias that they may have in dealing with people that don't look like them or act like them. And so that's my point. A lot of them, they're not used to dealing with people of color.
And the thing you said was very important because you said, okay, I understand that, but I'm here in Atlanta. Only thing you stopped me for was because reflective mirror. So what does that lead to? You jumping out with guns drawn, when I got my family in the car. What does that? And maybe I didn't know it, and maybe I did. But regardless of that situation, it did not get to that height of alert.
But you feel like you push narrative now. If me a person, I'm a regular person, any of us are regular people. And then, you know, we're cool until we push not to be cool. You know what I mean? I can only get aggressive when approached with aggression. You know what I mean? And you feel what I'm saying? If you pull out your gun, if you approach me with your gun, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna be the
it's escalated. It's gonna
you know what I mean? Like at this point, I'm already one disrespected. You feel what I'm saying? Two, my family's in the car, so now I gotta take a stance of the actual protection of my family because you feel what I'm saying? Not only now have we crossed the line of disrespect, but now I gotta prove to, you know what I mean? I gotta stand up for my family. So now we already kind of at a 6. You know what I mean? As you function, and we started, you know what I mean?
Before we rush the conversation.
Did they have to put their guns away? Or did they so they immediately got out and
immediately got out. And I mean, this is no exaggeration. You
No,
know
I'm asking. I'm trying to get an understanding of the stuff.
Man, they literally got out. You know what I'm saying? And I was well aware of what they were putting me over for. You know what I'm saying? It was nothing else that a tag is up. You know what I mean? Nothing else that they could have been putting me over for. Like I was like, damn, this damn window. You know what I mean? And somebody knocked it off, and I didn't even feel like doing a whole insurance claim on that particular situation. So, you know what I mean? I knew exactly what it was. You know what I mean? But for them to jump out, how they jumped out as far as hands on hips, you know what I mean? Officer on both sides, telling me to roll down the window. You feel what I'm saying? It's just, it was excessive. You feel what I'm saying? And it just took me to the mindset where like, I can see how these situations go bad. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to talk to you respectfully, which I'm capable of doing.
Okay.
But now, since you basically you've already abused your authority, you know what I mean? I'm gonna have some choice words for you. I'm gonna have some conversation for you that's gonna now probably provoke you to do some.
What happened?
I
What
got
ended up
you.
happening? What ended up happening? My bad.
He ended up writing a warning. You know, once he got to the car, once he looked in the car, saw that I got a newborn in the car, got a couple teenagers in the car, my wife's in the car. Then he kind of got to where all the way to the way it was down. But it's like, damn. It took for him to see that I had an actual family in the car, for him to treat me like a regular citizen or what I would think would be a regular, natural interaction with, you know what I'm saying, the police or whatever.
Well, it's like today in Thomasville, Georgia, officer went to stop the vehicle. Guy immediately stops, gets out with an AR-15 and unloads on him. Luckily, the officer didn't get killed, but it's not saying what they done to you was right, but there's been times that I stopped folks that windows are pitch black. I don't know how many folks in there. I'm not asking them to roll down the windows. You know, it's just, I don't get out with my gun, but it's just a safety issue. But I don't know who you are. You don't know who I am. I've been doing this 21 years versus somebody that hasn't been doing this. I've been punched in the mouth versus these young cops that's never been in a fight before. First thing they want to go to is for a gun. Because that's how they feel secure. But maybe it's like, you know, we'll put hands on.
But I think what will soften a lot of it is for us to, at whatever point, I don't know, get you to a point where you at ease, whether it's an apology or say, look, man, this is why I did what I did. Explain everything to you. Again, we're about keeping it real. Too many times we don't do that. We just go ahead. We jump out the car, we do our thing, and
Have a good day. Have a good day.
go, and then go. You know what I'm saying? So you're left going, that's fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
And you take that taste with you.
Yeah, so the next time.
I don't even know when that happened. You can see that you still have a bad taste in your mouth.
Told me earlier, it's the interactions. You know what I mean? And you know, if I was to line up my interactions against you know what I mean? I would say I had more bad interactions. You know what I'm saying? In some cases, I probably was in the wrong, dead in the wrong. You know what I mean? Had warrants and all. But in every situation, the approach has almost been the same. You know what I mean? Like, it's very, like,
already on 10.
I think, man.
So that's a whole purpose.
Man, in the minute, you know, I got extensive contact with the police. You know what I mean? Like, you know, now, you know, I'm 33 now, and I got a barber shop, and it's cool. And, you know, now the interaction I can have can be a lot more peaceful. But, you know, when I was early on, when I was 17, 16, 15, 19, yeah, I hated the police. You know what I mean? Like, in the sense of, I never felt like they were coming on a fair ground. You know what I mean? I always felt like it was an authoritative situation that you had to now look up to whoever this dude was. You feel what I'm saying? In a situation to where they already have a presumption of who you are. You feel what I'm saying? Which they don't know who you are. But they gonna treat it as such. And I've even been like on the inside of a jail, and then you get like the CO contact, and then it's even worse. You feel what I'm saying? Like,
Guilty until proven innocent.
Man, come on, man. Like, you talking about a dude that might make $12, $15 an hour. So, you talking about not even $60,000 at the end of the year. So, and I'm not calling him less than or nothing, but I'm just saying, you're be talking to a person that you don't even know. Like, bro, at the end of the day, in society, bro, like, I can buy you. And it's just like, what you talking to me is a convict or, you gonna eat this up. So this your meal.
I have a question in reference to your stop, because the way that you're talking, it sounds like you have an elevated level of thought. So with that presumption, my whole thing is because not every police officer is the sharpest tool in the shed. So if you come in contact with somebody who's a police officer and that police officer is doing something that's out of pocket, why don't you just outthink him? Like, you had your family in the car and all stuff. They already got their guns drawn, like you said. So if we think Wild Wild West, they've already got an advantage, so to speak.
No, you only have calculated, those type of thoughts are like, it's good right here. You know what I'm saying? Where we have educated conversation.
Right.
Again, in situation in real time, where, like I said,
you can still
now you've already done it. You feel what I'm saying? I didn't. Again, I pulled over. It ain't like I took him on a slight chase. No,
you ever got into a situation where that person, you ever been in contact with a person where they been turned up, they were super turned. But you were thinking in your head, your wheels were spinning, and you were like, you know what, let me do what I need to do through my body language, through my voice, through my speech, through my demeanor, how I'm holding myself. Let me calm this person down.
Choice related. If that particular situation is a person is elevated and you're not elevated for any reason, yeah, you probably will have the confidence to be able to calm him down. But in a situation where you're not provoked and you're the one whose temper is boiling,
let me jump in.
You have a choice. I had a choice. I could have still, you know what I mean, in a way been diplomatic. But again, these officers chose to come and approach this situation with everything that's going on in the world, with the Sandra Bland situation, with all the different, you know what I mean?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is based on what you're saying. You're saying that there was a situation where two armed men, never mind police officers, two armed men were approaching your vehicle.
Approaching my vehicle.
And so with that being said, they already have an advantage on me. So let me figure out how I diffuse the situation because at this particular time, I don't know. You didn't have your
But one thing we cannot do is be in a same situation to our men. Then you have to put that police because that's authority when that uniform gives that. Because if you say two armed men, I'm coming out with my stuff. Well, you just lost this boy point blank. Anybody in here, it's like two men.
Which I want to be able to trust. Which I want to be able to say, phew, these people are here to protect me. These people are here to make sure we are covered. These people are to make sure that we are going to make it home safe. They are checking up. Hey, I see that your mirror is out, bro. Can you see? You know what I mean? Can you properly make in and out turns?
You get the point
driving like that. Is your family safe?
The sad part about what you're saying is in every profession, you have some people that do a job in a great way, just like a barber. You might have a barber that, hey, how you doing, man? Good, that's whatever. Same thing with the cop. Hey, how you doing, Officer Denny? What you stopping for? You stop people on a regular basis, and some people will curse you out before I even said something. And then, as an officer, that puts you in a different mood. You try to be, on my first day, third call, I had a plane. Officer, hey, how y'all doing? But they went off. And it made me understand that everybody's different. But I was taught treat everybody like you want your family to be treated, regardless of how they treat you. You know what I'm saying? I can respond just like we was talking about Will Smith, right? And as a grown 43-year-old man, if somebody called me the N-word right now, I got a choice to make. I'm slapping the shit on them, right? And it's everything that I got over a word, right? So on a traffic stop, even when you deal with people in trouble, when people go off on you, but you stop the car, you ain't got enough there to go, they selling dope on the car. What the fuck you fucking me for? I got a choice to make. Do I go back and forth with them? And I think that's what he's trying to say. Do I go back and forth with them? I say, man, I'm licensed in insurance. The reason that I stopped you was because that mirror is out. Oh, no, but you ain't got nothing. No, I need that. Let me go do my job. And I have a choice to either I can cite you for it, or I can give you a warning and say, hey, bro, go get you in the field. I'm sorry for pulling my gun on you. I didn't know what I was doing. And call it a day. And that right there would have made you say, man, he did at least apologize. But then the fact that he posted up, walked on, and then didn't say that, it still bothers you to this day. And as an officer, we have to deal with what every other officer did long before you got to me. You see my uniform. You don't see Ty Dennis. You see APD. And some people have some horrible experiences. And that's the reality of it. And it sucks because you can be on straight, good terms, get along with people, and all that, when they see me walk up, they remember that officer that when you get stopped. If I stop you and you ain't know me right now, all you remember is that other stop, them other officers pulling the gun. You know what I'm saying? And I may not even be there.
Well, I think we kind of hit that. No, she got a question. Okay. We have one more question, then we're going to come on.
No, I'm just saying. So I was listening. I'm an educational advocate for the most part. I live in the city of Atlanta. I work close with police officers, young men like him. So for clarification, I want to do is put out two perfect words that I love, which is transparency and accountability. When it comes to government and services that are provided, there's a level of accountability and understanding that we have to have and understand about the audience that we're serving. So a lot of times, when I play devil's advocate here, I hear a lot of young men like this, you know, with the hostility, and I personally myself have dealt with professional standards and to deal with police officers that have behaved erratically and unnecessarily. And there is not necessarily an opinionated response or a feeling that this is happening. This is a real fact. This is a real thing. So the humanity and the psychology part of it is if these men feel threatened, there has to be a positive response to that. So when we think about the uniform by itself is nothing. It's the person in the uniform that wears that uniform. So when you pick up that uniform, you have a level of understanding of what you're getting into. And it is understood that regardless of what you get into, your behavior and your conduct and the integrity and under which you uphold the law is going to stand on that. So to some extent, I don't support officers that don't have military background or that don't have educational training. And the reason for that is because some people get off the street, one day you can't get a job, and now you have a job, you have a gun, you have everything. You can't fight. You don't need to be a police officer because you might need to get beat up. And if somebody's gonna beat you up, you gotta take that whooping. You cannot draw your weapon. So some officers don't understand that. And for me, I'm a female, but I can hold my own against working that crazy. He can speak for me. But it is a necessary. No, I'm telling you, trust me, don't come for me. But not you, because you got to talk. Injection. But just last month, I had to email the sheriff because these men's concerns are valid. They're valid, and we can't invalidate them. We have to address them. And saying, well, this could have happened and that could have happened. I'm a good police officer too, and you ever try to get rid of them, I'm gonna be at the doorstep every day because you didn't get rid of them. But it's a matter of the conversation being had that you're having here. This officer came knocking on my door for a reason that he should not have. You know, he was kind of scared after he left, but you know, he was all right. But the reason I came here today is because I have a group of the have-nots. I deal with the thugs, I deal with the drug dealers, I deal with the murderers, I deal with the shooters. And what people will learn about them is they're not killers. They're young kids that do stupid stuff. They have guns in their hands. They're paranoid like this individual. They don't have the training like this individual saying, think clearly, these men are scared. How can you think clearly when you have fear? So a lot of times, police officers are gonna, unfortunately, but fortunately because of the job that we saw, have that demeanor that is welcoming. You get pulled over for a traffic stop, that's what you're pulled over for. You're gonna treat it like a traffic stop. Your gun, your hand should not be on your holster. And if you're a trained officer, you know when to put your hand on that holster. If you want to act crazy and you want to fight, you know how to fight. And you're going to deal with it. And you're going to cause some weakness if you act up. But there is a true level of aggression that these young men are feeling that is not warranted. And it must be addressed before we can start to reconcile the relationships of that. Now, police officers, I feel sorry, I'm not going to.
How do we address it?
Well,
that's why, honestly, that's why we're here.
Well, so the reason I met him is because I'm having a meeting this summer. It's called Hot Summer. And I want to I'm building first of all, I have a nonprofit I'm starting to find visions. Social education aspect program. I deal with young black boys. My son was in prison for 5 years. I would not say who he is, but he's 26 years old. Recently, I just had him pulled over by the police officers for an illegal stop, period. You know, and he said to me, he says, Mom, I knew they were going to pull me over. He says he saw me at the gas station, and when he asked me what was I a rapper, I knew when I got off the street he was going to do it. That should not happen. Even if it shouldn't have happened. Now, I've dealt with that officer, and I'm going to deal with him. But just like one of you said, this is a job. So we got really good officers out there that are doing their job, and they can keep their job legally powerful. But those people that don't do their job, I have a specific problem with that. But the conversation started because I was listening to your chief report, one of the meetings. Some of these young men don't have basic conflict resolution skills. They put out the gun, they couldn't do it because they're mad, because they don't know how to talk to you. So when we talk about that part, what about police officers working with young men that have anger management issues? So I'm hoping we can get some intervention in the court where you guys can sit down and talk to them, not even as police officers, but some of these guys don't have problems. They don't know. When you say you don't like me or something like that, they draw. I don't know whether they weak or punks. They just cry over every little thing. They're gonna pull a thing out every minute. But I'm gonna leave it this young man that I convinced not to shoot another man, even though he shot at my house, and it says in the court, so it's not illegal. But the thing is, somebody says, Miss Kim, I was not gonna let this boy pump me. Then this boy went to prison and killed himself for the rest of his life. But he wasn't thinking. So I'm looking for mentors, police officers that are mentors to these young boys. They're actually good people, most of the time.
Well, I want to just hit on this before we move on, and not address everything you said, and I appreciate what you said, but, police, I mean, which job are we gonna take? It's the same thing we talk when we have conversations about should the police department handle deal with mental illness. That's not our job. That's why a lot of organizations are trying to get the police out of that role. So the same thing with the mentoring. No, we don't have any problem. I don't think guys have a problem doing that, but that shouldn't be one of our focus points. That stuff started at home.
We don't have homes.
No, they got somebody. They got a big brother, they got an uncle, somebody. There's some type of positive person. Again, I'm not saying police, we can't do it. I've done it before.
Been doing it for 18 years.
I've done it before.
So what you're saying is, that's not your responsibility.
What,
Well, I didn't say you, I didn't say the police department. I'm saying in general,
I got something real quick. Sure. In reference to what she was saying, I think there's a big disconnect with the community when it comes to the fighting aspect, which you were saying. So being a police officer in DeKalb County, both of us work in DeKalb County South Precinct. I think the community doesn't understand that when we arrest someone, it's not a fight. We're trying to take them into custody. We're providing the customer service. So we've had people, I've had to do the other day, he weighs 110 pounds, he's 5'1". I'm 255 pounds. We wrestled with this dude for multiple minutes because we're trying not to hurt him. Because as soon as we really go there with him, they're gonna scream Black Lives Matter and they're gonna have us on the news. We could have easily took him into custody, picked him up, slammed him immediately. We provide him with customer service. So a lot of times you see these interactions, we're not fighting like a street fight to beat somebody up or to win. We punch him when we walk away. That's not how it goes. You gotta put him in handcuffs. And even a dude my size, his size, whatever, couldn't put you in handcuffs if you don't want to go without seriously injuring you. People don't understand that though. Without breaking your arm,
I'm saying, that's what I want you. I don't have a problem with DeKalb County, no offense to done by the way. But no, what you're saying is exactly what I didn't understand. You're talking about an excellent officer. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the officer that won't do that.
I understand. I'm just saying. I think it's a disconnect when it comes to some of these interactions. And speaking what he said about the minor traffic infractions, a lot of the times we have stops for drugs, people wanting for warrants. They know they're riding around with this. They're not going to ride in a car that's registered. They're going to ride in a car that's registered to someone else, maybe their mother, maybe their girlfriend, whatever the case is. So a lot of these minor infractions lead to bigger stops and bigger drug arrests, bigger just apprehensions. So it may not be that they're just, necessarily picking on you. It might be a certain area or something like that. And a lot of times we pull people up plenty of times. We say, hey man, this, and this. There's no problem. Like say in the car defense, hey, keep going. Not gonna write your ticket, nothing like that. Like, we're not out here trying to police.
I have a comment there that I think needs to be said. So part of what she said was that we as officers have to be willing to get our ass kicked, basically. You have to realize that as a police officer, we carry a lot of tools on our belt, right? So you have to factor in that the abilities that I have, another officer might not have. I might be able to handle somebody one-on-one by myself. But if you have somebody, if you have an individual that's struggling and an officer of like skills, and that officer is getting tired, he has to factor in that he has a weapon on his hip, he has a taser on his hip, and if any of those weapons, while he's tired, is taken from him, he can be killed with those weapons. So you have to be, it's not about us being afraid to get our ass kicked. That's not the case. We have to be aware of if somebody whoops our ass, we can die. You see what I'm saying? We can die. And we're taught in the academy, we're not in the business of losing fights.
I got something.
Period, point blank. Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all are officers, man. You know what I mean? And I don't really want to be personal with her. Me, myself, I did 10 years in prison. You know what I'm saying? Right here in Georgia. It boils down to, it's got to be start within, bro. You know what I'm saying? The officer, the training is poor because you got, maybe not y'all, but you got cowards. You feel me? That's stepping up saying, hey, I want to be a police officer. Ain't slapped nobody. They did their lunch taking their whole life. And y'all letting them become officers. Maybe not y'all personally, I'm speaking at Jim, but y'all let them become officers, run the streets, shoot and pull their gun like it's uncalled for. Well, so the problem is, bro, the officers are not getting trained properly Because like the lady said, you know what I'm saying? Y'all train for conflict resolution. Hold on. Y'all train for all this stuff. So if y'all jump out the car aggressively, I'm provoked automatically. So if I get on the level with y'all, now I lost my life. And guess what? It's looked at, hey, he was in the wrong. He was getting pulled up. No, you jumped out crazy. That's what it boiled down to. So the officer need to be trained better on all levels. We can talk about the people all day, but the people not policing the people. Y'all policing the people. You feel me? Just being real. So the training, and I'm gonna let you talk, the training is terrible.
So at the end of the day, what you have to realize is you can't train who a person is out of it. You understand what I'm saying? So I can take I can take five people through the same class.
You meet the qualification on
Nobody's putting in for this job.
But at the end of the day, your height, your weight, your skill level fighting, your skill level negotiating, your skill level of de-escalating, whatever that is, it's going to revert back to that in that time of stress. So your training is going to take you so far, but who you are and who you were before you became an officer is who you're going to be in that time.
So far because the one that's training is poorly. Let's be real.
Well, I wouldn't say that because
not everybody.
Okay, so how do you have a difference? So how do you have a difference?
What we're gonna do is, if you don't mind, I appreciate the brother expressing himself. That's what we want. We're gonna let him talk. When he's finished, we let everybody have their say. And
She can raise her hand for a
we're
while.
gonna keep going.
She can raise her hand for a while.
Oh, I couldn't see her.
Well, I just, to the young lady back here, with the, wanting mentors and things like that, I applaud what you do because I'm in social services myself.
Yes.
However, I feel like sometimes, we expect teachers to have a hierarchy. We expect police officers to have a hierarchy. Back in the day, the community would help mentor. And we got to get that back because it can't just be on one profession. It can't be the teachers. It can't be the police officers. We as a community have to come together. And now we're siloed. That ain't my business. That ain't my child until it happens to your child. You know what I'm saying? So we have to come back together and encourage more people to become mentors, encourage the community to become mentors. And that kid will listen to somebody. He might not have nobody in that home, but there is somebody that he can look up to, a teacher, a church member, somebody down the street, Mr. Rogers down there. I don't know. But we have to get that back if we want our youth to be better, if we want our communities to be better. We have to, also, we can't just depend on the police. We can't just depend on the teachers. And, we have to come together.
I think it comes down to a level of respect too, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have to respect the officer.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's no respect for the
Two-way
officer.
street.
Yeah, it's a two-way street, you know? And I didn't always have respect for the police, you know what I'm saying? But me knowing officers, you know what I'm saying, interacting with them on a regular basis, now I have relationships with officers, you know what I'm saying? So now, not only do I respect them, but I respect other officers as well, because I know that all officers aren't the same, right? So it's up to the individual to know that even though I don't know this officer, I have to respect his authority. And that's where the problem really comes in. I don't want to respect officers' authority.
They don't say that.
I can't hear you.
If I walk a certain type of way, they don't say that about me. They don't say
But that's a bias. That's a implicit bias. As soon as if I didn't tell you I was a cop, I may get the same thing because of the color of my skin. It doesn't have anything as a police officer. Depending on, like you just said, depending on where you come from or what you've been around, you've been exposed to that. If you grew up in that environment, then just as you got taxed don't mean you a gang member. Just as you got dreads don't mean you a gang member, right? But at the same time, just because I wear a uniform don't mean I've been chunked, my lunch ain't get took, I've been popping since kindergarten. You can't disrespect me the same way you don't want me to flip it back on you. Because guess what? A lot of people, as soon as I pull them on, this lame man, what you ain't got nothing to do. What the fuck you fucking with me for? Well, brother, I ran your tag and your tag expired. Or you ain't got no insurance. So when you hit his grandmother and then she can't get her car fixed, who's supposed to handle that? Me. You know know what I'm saying? And people don't look at it from that point. That first thing they say, you ain't got nothing better to do. They sell it though. We all know right now, in the city of Atlanta, you ain't scared of the police. You're scared of somebody that look like us, right? And then who's supposed to step up to the plate to handle that? You want me to do that? You want me to run up? Why they ain't getting these niggas out of this Draco shit? You want me to run up on them? I don't know you, right? I don't know that you got mental illness. I don't know that. I have a job to do. And everybody is different. You got piss poor teachers, you got piss poor cops, you got piss poor parents. It starts at home. At the end of the day, if you got somebody in your neighborhood that needs a mentor, grab them. Hey, little brother, what you doing with your life? You know what I'm saying? I've been mentoring for 18 years. In my own, everybody in here will tell you that. In my own time, even as a cop, right? You don't hear about that though. You wanna know why? Because that ain't what sells. They won't try to believe all of us have to kill y'all. Not all of us here to kill y'all. I want to make the world better. I want to leave it. I come from this. I grew up in this. It takes us. It's not nobody coming down to save us until the world with God comes. Right now, it takes us. You've been here 10 years. You need to be talking and telling them, hey, bro, this ain't what you want. You know what I'm saying? Because once you get to my desk, it's too late. I got a job to do. You feel me? And if I cut you a break, what am I really doing? I'm violating my oath. Then, when you see that I cut him a break, you're saying, damn, he a dirty ass cop too. You feel me? So it's a two-way street. I think we,
Last one, and let's move on. Move to something else.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna go back to the training piece that you were talking about. So I worked in training for almost 6 years. We get really good training, like we do. But the same way, like you can get in a relationship with a girl and then not find out until a couple months later that she crazy. They pass all the tests, right? They get in, it's real good, and then they get in and start interacting with people. But we also work in a state where people can file grievances and keep their job and do all that stuff, right? We do the things that we can to train people properly, but you also have to look at the fact when you have this whole idea of people want to defund the police. You're saying like, y'all need to train them better. Give us some money to do that, right? The facilities that we work in are old. I'll speak personally for the Fulton County Public Safety Training Center because I don't work for APD. That building was built in 1996. It has a tin roof. When it rains outside, water comes in the building. We got to put buckets up. But it's like if somebody cutting grass outside, I can hear. If people talking outside, I can hear them talking whatever they're talking about outside. So every time people think about us getting money, they think, oh, y'all trying to get more guns. Y'all just trying to give them. Like, we need resources to be able to help people. They're the trainings that we get to deal with people that have mental health issues. We get that training, but back to my point, we get people in the door. Everybody isn't made for this job, but we do things to try to, police the police. And to your point as well, one of my favorite quotes, contrary to popular belief, under pressure, you will not rise to the occasion. You will sink to your lowest level of training. That is why we must train hard. We can't just show up to in-service once a week and do a couple of DT moves and think it's going to work. It requires constant training, but we need more people. I don't see a whole bunch of people standing in line to sign up to be police. Ain't nobody standing in line to do this.
Not for 48,000.
Ain't nobody standing in line to do this. So you say, like, y'all letting these people in here. What are people that we need to be doing this job, right? So those people need to be in line.
They already got a record of that.
Not everybody. It's some people that just don't want to.
It's a filterization system. I don't know if it's, direct or initial. But you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of people that grow up. I'm from here. I'm born and raised in Atlanta, so I can't really speak on you know what I'm saying, San Francisco or Philly or none of that. I'm just talking about Atlanta. And outside of Fulton County, it's dangerous to be a young black person because in Clayton County, you know what I mean, you gonna be targeted if you standing on Terra Boulevard and it's 3 of y'all with hoodies on. You feel what I'm saying? If you in Henry County, down in McDonough, in the square, you feel what I'm saying? You can't be posted outside that Dollar General. Not that you selling drugs or nothing. You just got some candy and you just congregating with your friends. You feel what I'm saying? You can't do that in Congress. You feel what I'm saying? You can't do that in Cobb. You know what I mean? Like, those areas aren't safe to live. You feel what I'm saying? If you're a young black person,
why you think they don't allow that there? Why you think they don't allow it?
They don't allow what?
What you just said.
Why you think they don't allow it?
They don't allow it.
Why you think they don't allow it?
Well, I know that they don't allow it because I didn't move here. You don't look like you're from here.
And it's cool. And it's cool. You know what I mean? I'm born and raised here, literally. So the stuff that I'm talking about, the areas that I'm talking about, I'm very privy to. You know what I mean? I literally understand the geographic and the demographic understandings and the makeups of these places I'm talking about.
Definitely.
The Allen Woods, the Memorial Drive to a certain point. I know what I'm talking about. So I'm telling you there is oppression on, you feel what I'm saying, our type of people.
No,
You have
I'm asking
dreams,
you, why do you think they
want
don't
six
allow
steps
it?
around.
What he's asking you is why do you think they are hard on them like that?
Why?
As a police officer,
Because, and I guess that was a question I didn't get to ask, but I wanted to know what is, because I keep hearing, you know, we just get tossed around. It's not our job, or it is our job. It's not our job. What actually is the description, job, detail of a police officer? And I guess a citizen, as a regular citizen, as a regular just person in society, I guess if we had that understanding, we would better be able to understand these unwarranted, you feel what I'm saying, traffic stops,
in the public's eye,
these unwarranted contact inferences that are happening.
In the public's eyes, they feel that a police officer should be.
So no, not in the public's eyes. What is the description, the oath that you were talking about?
The oath that I took is
to
to serve and to protect and to treat people how I would want my own family to be treated, to be honorable, to not treat, or just because I got the opportunity to put my foot on somebody's neck to do that, just because I got the opportunity to slap somebody, not to do that. That's what I signed up to do. But in the public side, I'm supposed to get a cat out the tree.
What is the description? So
the description is
like if you were to ask me as a barber, what is my description? My description as a barber, or what my job description would be, is to make sure that my clippers and my utensils are properly sterilized, sanitized, that I can now proceed and give and administer you a decent haircut. You feel what I'm saying? Based on the description of the haircut, the length that you want it, based on the head shape that you have, you feel what I'm saying, and the style of haircut that you want. You feel what I'm saying? At the end of that, I would then ask for your satisfaction, you know what I mean, your satisfaction, your level, and then I would then give you a price, and then you would compensate. And that would be the end of our business terms in that transaction. Right. So when I asked, what is the police job description? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Our job is to enforce state laws and whatever political jurisdiction you're in, right?
So why is a bias taken on? You know what I mean? If that is the simplicity of what you're supposed to do. So that in these areas in which you were talking about, why do you feel like, or why do I feel like this is being approached? It is being approached because as an officer who was just supposed to be doing what that lady said y'all supposed to be doing, y'all then some kind of way get out there in the job, in the field, and start taking on bias. Start making personal.
It's called discretion. Because guess what? Let me finish. Discretion, right? When you go into the gas station, let me finish. Let me finish. It's discretion, right? So when you go to the gas station right now in Atlanta, you got young dudes hanging out, hopping in your car, right? In different areas, right? So that's why it can happen anywhere, but how do you prevent that? How would you want me as officer to prevent that from happening? Addressing people that are loitering outside of a gas station. Loitering outside of Family Dollar. Hey, what you doing? Oh, just use the candy shop. All right, cool, whatever. But in different instances, that's how the stuff that you want me to prevent from happening, how do you pose I go about doing that? Without engaging people. If you standing outside the gas station just chilling, what are you doing? Why are you there? You know what I'm saying? Because then when my wife go and she get her gas and you steal a pocketbook, guess what they looking for? We need more police on that quick trip. We need more police engaging these young boys. You see what I'm saying? So you can't have it both ways. You can't just hang out, do whatever the hell you want, and then you expect the police to just do what? You see what I'm saying? It's a double-edged sword.
So you saying boom, hang out. Why? You wouldn't approach his kids the same way you would approach me.
How you know how I would approach it?
You wouldn't.
How you know that? If I got a description of white males carjacking people at the gas station, guess what? I'm going to approach them the same way. They are the problem. So if the problem is the description of young black males hanging out at we can name a gas station, 356 Boulevard, right? Would you go hang out there?
I hang out in here.
I'm just saying though, but when you pull up, listen,
When you pull up at the gas station.
It's like me saying, if I walk out this door, I won't approach my man for a haircut. This young lady for any services on the road is sick. You know what I'm saying? When I go outside, I approach anybody. Hey, do you want to get your
But that's you. We talking about what? You talking about
hey, bro, you want to catch that fade? You want to get a fade?
why are the
Hey, bro,
officers
you want to get a bald head?
What did you just do?
You know what I'm saying?
What did you just do?
What? I'm a
No. You engaged. So
every level of engagement is gonna be the same. I'm not gonna change the level of engagement. That's exactly what the officer. When I engage you as a bald head man, I'm gonna give you the same respect and the same generosity. I'm gonna give him as a fade. I'm gonna give him as a fade the same generosity as this man. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna give this young lady the same generosity. I don't get that from cops. You know what I'm saying? I don't get that from officers. Officers don't give the same. Officers get to a point where they start making predetermined, premeditated decisions based on this nigga's exactly.
Sir. Step to the side. What's that hanging off your?
God, this is my keychain, bro. You gotta get in my house. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing changed. You know what I'm saying?
it's all about.
Sir, is that a hoodie? Are you touching me, sir? Don't.
You know what I mean? That's officers. That's officers based on the uniform.
But I got you. And then sometimes there's, like you said, that our interaction with the public is not appropriate based on certain situations. So I got that. So, but every officer is not that way. But because you hanging out, I can come and say, dude, what's going on with this? I just go in the store. You tell me what your problem is. We solve that and we keep it moving. So I got you. We all understand.
So I think that's what, I'm going to cut you off. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep on moving to the next one. And I appreciate it. We've been trying to do that for a while. All right, yeah, we're going to move on to the next one. So I think one of the other topics that is pretty hot, and I think it's important for everybody, to chime in on is, do you think that law enforcement, I just say law enforcement in general, do you think that law enforcement is over relying on enforcement and not much community engagement? Or is it time to change? Because that's what we're dealing with now, really here in our department and across the country, in changing how we police. You look at this 21st century policing about getting more in the community. So do you think we are, you're gonna be barred, you're gonna be able to come through this no more.
And I tell you what,
Ryan, don't worry about it. I'll straighten it out, Ryan, don't worry about it. But do you think that police are, I guess, to break it down even more, too heavy-handed and more concerned with just doing enforcement, writing tickets, locking people up, as opposed to getting out and learning the people in the community?
I would say
that won't be our job.
That's an administrative thing. That's not something, individual officers, there's a lot of individual officers who will make contact with the community, know their community, know names and everything like that. But a lot of times you don't have time for that because you got call, and you got supervisors asking you when you leaving that call to go to the next.
Yeah, but I've been, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I've been around, Ryan. I've been around long enough to know that we ain't policing for 8 hours. We ain't answering calls for 8 hours, and so we got a little time to get out. I don't care if it's just one spot. If I'm working down in this area down here, and I don't know, I see the barbershop open. Hell, it's what, 7:30. Oh, let me stop in. This is a new shop. I ain't met these guys yet. Let me come on in here. And I drop in, and next thing you know, I know these guys in the community. So if something's going on in this area, they may not tell nobody else but me. All right. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I've been around long enough that we ain't policing 8 hours. I'm just checking.
To answer your question, I do think there needs to be a more heavy emphasis on enforcement, because you see the agencies that have been backing off with police in Atlanta, DeKalb, some of these other agencies, crime has risen. You take that same stuff people do in Atlanta, DeKalb, in Forsyth County, Barrow County, even Cobb County. They're not going for any of that. But that's because their emphasis is on enforcement, and they're being backed up by their command staff. In DeKalb County, like you're saying, personally, South Precinct, we running 10 to 12 officers. We got 25 911 calls in. That's 20. I'm talking about 25. But ain't no screening. And it's that's what I'm saying. It comes back to the no one wants to be a police officer. But about 5 years.
What about you?
14.
See, it still is on us. I said it before and I keep saying it. And I respect y'all's opinion. It's still on us. If we got however many calls, it's still on us to meet the people in the community.
That's fair.
That's the problem.
That's fair.
That's why people don't, I think, and again, I'm from here, born and raised, just like Ryan. Been here all my life. So I know how things used to be, how things midway in my career here, and how they are now. And so it's incumbent. We gotta do the work and meet the people halfway. They gotta meet us halfway. It's different. I can see that the argument is, well, I'm trying to meet the business owners and whatnot. Nobody wants to talk to me. Nobody wants to meet me or have just a regular police business owner relationship. Then okay, at least you tried. I get that, but we can't keep using the excuse that we ain't got time, because that's what the people are missing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As most of you guys know, I was police since 2 days after Earth School, about 30 years, and had a parallel path. Working with 100 black men, heavily involved with 100 black men and mentoring. And you know what I've seen, to Mike's point, as a police officer, we talk about training, all that kind of stuff. We have to be held to a higher standard, and so it's incumbent to, when you have that time, to number one, make the interaction. Sometimes just making the interaction bridges the gap right there, because they don't have the expectation you're going to make the interaction. And one of the reasons why it's so important, particularly in the environment we're in today, I know I talk to a lot of parents with the kids that we mentor, and I just talk about our own community. We don't have that sense of community in our own communities. I mean, it used to be a time when you knew everybody up and down the street. You got individuals staying in communities now, they don't even know each other. I mean,
but that's what a lot of people often talk about back in the day. They say when the officer was on foot and things like that. Me, myself, working in the area that I work, I knew everybody. I knew the Arab guy at the store. I knew every dope boy. I knew every elderly lady. And that helped me throughout my career. Because as my career blossomed, when I became a detective, I live in St. Louis. People still call me right now about stuff in Atlanta. Because I established relationships. You know what I'm saying? Not know just if something happened, I'm coming to talk to you. I come to talk to you on a regular basis. And that's basically what you're saying. But it's a two-way street. You know what I'm saying? As a barbershop, you're a fixture in this community. When you see a new white officer, black, white, whatever, stop it. You knew?
Anybody.
Look, you knew just what you said.
Anybody.
Right? And that interaction will then make that person feel like he got an ally.
But just like police officers, that comes with life experience. Like when you talk to police officers and you hear police officers say, I've been a police officer 21 years, you know what he's saying. What he's saying is he's experienced and been in enough adverse situations that were favorable, situations that weren't favorable. He's experienced and encountered enough situations to make proper judgment on basic situations. You feel what I'm saying?
To touch on that, being a white police officer in Metro Atlanta, it was a big culture shock to me. Because, it's like I told him last meeting we had, I grew up white trailer trash. I dealt with the police. I saw the police coming. I thought that was something, that was like, was normal. It wasn't normal. Well, I made a choice that I didn't want to be like that, and thank God my grandparents raised me. But, it's like you said, we all said, you've got these kids coming from North Fulton, Roswell, it's never been in a fight. It's never been punched in the mouth. It's never, me and you get in a fight next day, we're best friends. And you don't think I catch you on the line with the last name Lynch? And being a white down the brother.
With the haircut.
If y'all see, look at your job, y'all. He did. Somebody better help me. But this is the thing. Once I get up there and this lady, why'd you stop me? I said, "Maybe it's not because your tags expired." And she like looked at me, she's like, "Oh, I apologize, I shouldn't have acted like that." It didn't bother me none, because it's not gonna, you can cuss me all you want to, I get paid by the hour. You know, it's not gonna bother me, you can call me every name in the book, what you wanna do to my parents, my kids, you're not gonna lure me. It's cause, dude, it's just work. It's not gonna, at the end of the day, I'm gonna accomplish what I'm gonna get done. Either you taking a ticket or you going to jail. But, you know, it's our job to change people's patterns of behavior. I don't answer calls, jump calls like DeKalb County or Atlanta. All I do is traffic. So I get out there and meet people.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I stopped a guy. We're on MLK. Scorpion had some guys run from us. Guy in the barbershop I gave a warning to. He said, "Hey, you went into the bathroom." You think if I wrote that guy a ticket or was rude to that guy, he would tell me that that guy ran into the bathroom? It's all about how you talk to folks. And you know, I understand being black and having a white police officers come up and all that, but you don't know me. You can't like just go off on me because, you know, bad relationships that you have with police. I could say all white people live in the trailer park are meth dealers. All black males on the street corners are drug dealers. I don't stereotype people like that. And if you don't think everybody in this world don't stereotype people, you're a damn lie.
Yeah.
You're a damn lie. Everybody says, "No, I don't have to do that." That's bullshit. Excuse me, ladies, my language. And it really irritates me that, you know, people look at me and think that I'm one of those cops that kill young black males. 21 years, never shot at anybody. Zero use of force control reports. Because this is a weapon, this is tools. This will get you into it or to get you out of it.
So what we learned today? That's what I want to know. What y'all feel we learned today?
Attitude reflects leadership.
Attitude reflects leadership. Treat people how you want to be treated. Oh, now you ain't got nothing to say.
Hey, don't go down to McDonald's. Stand after about $1.
Real quick, before we go in, before we continue on, everybody take out their phone. Everybody take out your phone.
And download the sheriff app.
No, I ain't. Everybody better take their phone. And I need you to go and follow us because we on either Instagram or Facebook. Clippers and Cops. Okay?
And by the way,
Clippers and Cops, or you go on clippersandcops.org. Clippersandcops.org, and you can go ahead and do that. But we're clippersandcops.org. Simple as want to be, how you want to do it. So I just want everybody to go ahead and follow us. People out there on social media who are listening, clippersandcops.org. Go ahead and follow us because this is a dialogue that we want to get out because we're hashing out a lot of things that most people don't discuss. Yes, and so we want you to understand that this is the opportunity that you got to talk with a police officer, from senior command staff, retired, to beat officers on the street. You got GBI in here. You got the sheriff's department. You got other parties of parole. You got other jurisdictions in here to give you an opportunity to talk to those. You got master instructors. You got trainers in here. You got, you know, we done had the mayor, the police chief, the sheriff, all of them come to our events here at Clippers and Cops so that they feel that this dialogue, because this is one way of community-oriented policing. This is the what? For us, as Ty said before, this is the Black Man's Country Club. When we come to the barber shop, we discuss a lot of things, good and bad, but we discuss it in here. So that's the opportunity to get this out and so that we can get this dialogue together so that we can solve some issues that's going on in anybody's community. Black communities, white communities, Italian, French, whatever. All these communities out here, we just need to go ahead on and just be able to talk. But go ahead, Dick.
I see you talking about salad dressing.
And by the way, the sheriff's office is hiring $9,000 sign-on bonus, and we paying it higher than the city of Atlanta.
But overall, I want to thank everybody for coming and being able to have these conversations because at the end of the day, I feel like at the end of the day, I work for 8 people. No, but just to have these conversations, we might save somebody's life. You know what I'm saying? And if we don't work on it, it's just like if you went to marital counseling first thing you're gonna do is communication is the key. And so we gotta have these conversations. We gotta have people from different walks of life at the table to be able to have these conversations. Just like she's saying she needs mentors, I see a lot of mentors sitting around here. So I think you need to be signing a few mentors up. So the whole thing about it is just trying to make the world better than we found it. Like, we can't just sit back and complain about it. We gotta keep trying to do better.
I wanna, just don't think that this is the end of our relationship, this is the beginning. So whatever, we love your fire, we need that passion. We need those people that's gonna come here and challenge us to whatever effect. We want you to know that we empathize with every situation that you've gone through. You know what I'm saying? So you make your contacts through Clippers and Cops, you got friends for life. You see what I'm saying? Whatever issues that you have, bounce it off of us. If we can't answer it, we'll find somebody. I might be able to find Lieutenant Carter. You know what I'm saying? Soon to be Captain Carter. He can get it. If he can't get it, maybe Craig can get it. So don't think of this as one conversation and we move it to the next barbershop and you won't hear from us again. Get our contact information. All of our information is on our bios and clippersandcops.org. Get in touch with us. If you have any questions, we are more than happy, even during our busy days, we'll come down and maybe you can cut our hair. You know, we got barbers, but maybe you cut our hair.
You got a question, go ahead.
I just want to know,
Yeah.
I wasn't here, but did y'all touch on like the gun law that just passed?
We did not. We
We
ain't got time today.
We can finish that.
But we will, because that opens up a whole different can of worms. Now, basically, anybody that's not a convicted felon can carry a weapon. So as a police officer, that can make it even more touchy-feely, because now everybody might have a gun. But after every